Hello, Mville, as I love to call you. I have had a great time hanging out with the elementary education
What was in
crew,
what? That box.
470.
Oh, it's for
I
tennis.
think it might
Suzette, I
be
don't think you're
wise
muted.
for us to mute
Suzette,
all the people that aren't. Let's see if we can.
I don't think you are either. I don't know. It says I'm muted.
Well, you're not. Because we can hear you saying that. That's interesting. So somebody's computer, because I just took away the right for you guys to unmute yourselves, and I can still hear some. Oh, mute all. What if we did that? We'll try that. We'll just, and it didn't mute me, right? Wave if you can hear me. Shrew. I didn't know if I muted. I've never used the mute all button because I feel like it's not my job to silence anyone. So the third, so I said I was going to do three things: breathe, here now, here now, here now, record. And the third thing I've written down is enjoy, because I want to make sure that I have fun with you all. As I had fun with you all in January, and hanging out with you virtually. I had an amazing time hanging out with you in April of 2019 in person. And as much as I feel like I've gotten a handle on doing these virtual presentations, and I do think they're always going to be a part of my work going forward. And if you remember me telling you all in January, I had never given a Zoom presentation before. I had told myself a story. I can't do these. I need to be in a room with people in order to share energy with them, in order to fire them up. And then Covidia said, oh yeah, you can't. And so it turns out that I can connect with people virtually. And even though it's not perfect, even though I wish I could be with them in person, in situations where I can't, this is a great alternative. And so I think I will continue to offer these. And one of the great things that I'll be able to do is in the future, when someone says, hey, we want to bring you in, I'm going to be able to say, hey, and if you are able to bring me in, we'll do a follow-up a few months later for free, because it won't require me, obviously, to travel back to St. Louis and such. So I am grateful that this is now the third time I've gotten to hang out with you in a few years. And I spent my morning, the first part of the morning, hanging out with the elementary folks. I know you were listening to another presentation. And so we just have an hour here together that I wanted to do a couple things with you. We weren't able to do the small groups with the big group, and we didn't know that till we got all 488 people in the room, and they went to put them into small rooms, and it turns out we had too many people to go into small rooms that we didn't know. And if there are some folks here in the group that for whatever reason, I haven't got to hang out in person, hi, I'm Paul. And my work for the last 20 years is doing professional development content, particularly with people who are in the helping professions really broadly. I spend time with support staffs and educators and counselors and campus recreation, all kinds of groups, library associations. The most of what they have in common is that they are people who are in the helping professions. And I generally look at my content divided down into two skill sets. I think to be the best person you can be and to be the best professional you can be, it requires looking at two different skill sets: reaching out skills to help people be more effective at connecting with each other, and then reaching in skills, working on more consistently bringing the best self you have available to yourself and to your work and to life. And so when I was with you 2 years ago, we broke up into small groups and moved around. Remember moving around to different tables, and we talked a little bit about conflict and communication and relationships, and then self-care, time management, stress management pieces. And then in January, we got to explore, where's my little "We Got This" sticker? We got to explore the "We Got This" content that I developed a few days when COVID hit in March of last year. If you didn't get to experience that with us, you're not going to miss anything today. I'm going to recreate a high-level overview of that content. And then I'm going to tell you a story that's going to end with 3 questions that you all are going to, in small groups in the second part of the presentation, you're going to explore both of those broad areas. But I thought it would be useful. Yeah, I think it would be useful if I put you in breakout rooms at first to just, and this is, I can't remember. Let me see how many rooms I want to put you in. I think I'm going to put you into 15 rooms. That'll be about 5 people per person. We're up to 76 people. I think that's going to be a good number. And what I thought would be useful is I'm going to put you, and forgive me, I don't remember if we did this in January, but I'm going to put you in small groups and give you an intro question, and then you're going to go back into those same groups after I share some ideas with you. So this first part is really just to get used to the group and just introduce yourself. And what I'm going to do right now, if you remember, I tend to use the chat window. So if you haven't opened up the chat window, it might be useful for you to open that. And you'll see that I just put small group intro as a little link. There's a JPEG that you should be able to open. Something I'm getting better at doing, because I heard from some people who are dialing in on their phones or dialing in on a tablet, that they're not easily able to do those links. And luckily, I have access into my head, something that I used to do in presentations in person, especially when I knew somebody in the room was visually impaired. But really, I tried to default and not assume everyone could see the slides and see them clearly, that I just defaulted to always describing what I was displaying on a slide. So if you were able to click the link, you should see a blue box pop up that says, introduce yourself in about a minute. And the idea here is, I know a lot of you know each other. And so I'm going to have you put on your hat, pretend like you're showing up at a statewide conference and you're doing the stand and greet your neighbor kind of thing. And it's probably easier if you just assume no one in the room actually knows much about you. And what I'd love for you to do is share just a little bit of a brief mix of work stuff, how long you've been doing this, but anything you want, and a little bit of life stuff. Again, whatever you want. It can be about your family. It can be about someplace that you like to go on vacation, or it's the first place you're going to go when COVIDia is finally coming to an end, or whatever, or someplace you've been. I know I got to do my first travel last weekend to Louisville for a little mini escape. That was quite fun. And the third thing I'm going to suggest that's listed here is to include something that reliably lifts your spirit. And I wrote song or a book or a movie or a show or food or an activity, something you do that when you partake, it generally lifts you up a little bit. And then what I'd love for you to do is, when the 5 of you, when you've heard from everyone, I'm going to give you about a minute apiece. So don't give the too short version, but don't give the whole thing. If they come out knowing about your moles and knowing about, don't tell too much. When you've heard from everyone, you should be able to click the end button, or the leave breakout button. It might just say leave group or leave meeting. And then when you click on it, it'll give you option of either leaving the meeting or leaving the breakout room. Don't leave the meeting. We still need you here. Just leave the breakout room and it'll bring you back here. And so with that, I've set up 15 groups. There's some place that you can, hold on, I'm going to look at one thing real quick. There used to be somewhere that you could set the time of you could preset the time of the meeting, but I'm not seeing that. So I will keep my eye on the time. It's 10:09. I'm going to give you a little bit longer than 5 minutes, and then I'm going to be pulling you out of the group. So when you get in there, introduce yourself, brief mix of work stuff, life stuff, and something that lifts you up. Say goodbye, come back here. Are you in? All right, I'm going to create the rooms. You're going to start disappearing. So I will wave to you because that's the kind of person I am. Oh, except it's over here saying, oh, did you want to put them into breakout rooms? And I'm like, oh, why aren't they going into rooms? And guess what I found? The options button that says auto close breakout room. So I'm going to give you 7 minutes in case we've got somebody who wants to talk about their moles. And now I'm going to open all the rooms. So now here you go. Goodbye. Goodbye. Mm. Patricia Howard didn't get put in a room. Hello, Patrice. Oh, there she went. I'll try pausing. And we're back from our small groups, having just gotten back together, not having taken a tangent that helped and enjoyed us all. So you didn't miss anything if you're watching this recording. And I am so appreciative that you all took a couple moments to break out into small groups just to say a quick hello. It will be my goal to put you back in those same groups, and I have the rooms listed right here that it should take you back to the same place. I've somehow messed it up once and reshuffled everyone, so if we do that, that's what will happen. And what I'd like to do, what my plan here is to do a high-level review of this sticker that we explored in January. And what I need to do is get you a link again. And now I've got my that little tangent threw me off of sending the email to myself that would have the links so that I could very smoothly. There we go. Sarah, before I forget, do me a favor and shoot me an email because I want to stay connected to you and I want to treat you a little bit because that was delicious. If you are able to get over to the chat window to click on "We Got This," it's just the same picture I gave you in January of me holding the curious minds, open hearts, calm spirits, and nurturing your health. And again, if you vaguely remember that presentation, great. If you remember every word of it, fabulous. And if you haven't seen it at all, it's really not going to matter. What I'm going to do here is give you just the high-level overview to give you something to think about in how you're doing today. And what happened as a quick review is that in the early days, back in March, I think 15th, 13th, 14th, 15th, when I found out, okay, COVID is here, it's going to stick around, and we may be dealing with it all the way to Memorial Day of 2020. Do you remember thinking that? And I said, me and the people that follow me on social media and that connect with me on the Ripples emails I send out every Monday, we needed something to help us figure out and stay hopeful in the next few weeks and months. And what I decided to focus on, I was convinced that we've got this if we come together and focus on four things: curious minds, open hearts, and calm spirits while we nurture our health. And so what I decided to do was pull together this into a sticker. Some people pitched in money. We sent thousands. I just ordered 3,000 more stickers because we have been distributing stickers so much everywhere. And it became a 5-minute pep talk. And then it became a full hour workshop that you all got to experience in January. And what I want to do here is just give the high levels and ask you, how are you doing in each of these four areas? And what I did this morning here is I just took a single sentence overview. So for example, curious mind, I just put in the chat window, curious mind, recognizing your thoughts and feelings and being able to pivot to a growth mindset. And if I ask you on a scale of 1 to 10 right now, if we're talking about just the curious mind aspect, your ability to go from judgment to curiosity about things, your ability to notice what you're thinking and feeling, without necessarily jumping into judging it and just saying, oh, I'm thinking about this a lot. If you remember when we talk about curious minds, we try to focus on the space between stimulus and response. And if we can catch ourselves and notice what we're thinking, notice what we're feeling before we act on them, we can expand that little space, which gives us time to say, how do I want to respond? And if I were to ask you today, right here, right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how you're doing at a curious mind, and of course, that number would probably go up and down throughout the day. But if you were going to say on general, jot down a little number on a scale of 1 to 10. And if you feel comfortable, I don't mind at all if you would want to report the number here in the chat window. No obligation, but if a few of you want to share your number, it might be helpful for us sort of normalizing that there's a scale and that people are at different steps. So if you want to just go throw a single number on a scale of 1 to 10 of where you're at in terms of curious minds, I'll give you a second. Oh, I'm not drinking a Diet Coke. I'm drinking wholesome, pure water. So healthy. I'm busted on camera drinking my little caffeine treat. Okay, no one's going to share. That's fine. You don't like me. If you love me, you would put, oh, they're good. Sharon. So on a scale of 1 to 10, a couple people may end up sharing there. I'm going to move on to open heart. So now don't share because then it'll, okay, yeah. I'll give you a second. I'll give you 10 seconds if you want to share, and then I'm going to add the next one, and then it'll get confusing. So on a scale of 1 to 10, oh my gosh, somebody's having their 10th grandbaby. That's so freaking cool. I love that. That's a good extrovert. All I want is a number. I got to tell you why my number. Love it. Love it. Still at 6. Okay. So what I'd like to do now is pivot then to an open heart. And if curious mind is about how we're doing in terms of our thoughts and feelings, an open heart was originally about extending gratitude and compassion and generosity to others. But then I included sharing it to yourself as well. And I'm going to go ahead and put open heart there. And I'm going to, do you remember the hand washing meditation? Right now, I'm doing the best I can. Sometimes my best may not seem good enough. For now, my best is the best I got. Right now, other people are doing the best they can. Sometimes their best may not seem good enough. For now, their best is the best they've got. Right now, other people are doing the best they can. Sometimes their best may not seem good enough. For now, their best is the best they've got. And that idea that open heart is extending it first to yourself. Are you applying gratitude, compassion, and generosity to yourself? And then once you're doing that well, are you extending it out to the people that it's easy to do? Are you the people you like, the people you love, the people you have reserves of trust and respect and positive regard for? And then ideally, the thriving energy is extending it to everyone, even people who drive you crazy, even people who are responsible for the quagmire of minutia that you are responsible for dealing with. And theoretically, those would be 3 different scores. You know, how are you doing it with yourself? How are you doing with others that you care about? How are you doing it with everyone? But for the purposes of this session, if I were to say, how are you doing overall with your open heart on a scale of 1 to 10? Do me a favor and at least jot it down on a piece of paper somewhere for you to look at. And then again, if a couple people are comfortable, it is useful to find out, oh, what are other people at? Because if you noticed the other numbers, there was a range, right? So maybe if we can get a dozen different people or the same people, but let's see if a couple people will share what their open heart score is. Oh, we got some good open hearts. Good. I love that you've got some sunshine in the St. Louis area today. We're having a beautiful sunny day here in Cincinnati. Awesome. So we've got a lot of 9s. Yay for all the 9s. As we shift from that, the next piece is about your calm spirit. And this is where we talked about finding your center, taking deep breaths and saying here now, here now, here now, knowing that we inevitably fall out of our center and being able to recognize, oh, I'm not centered right now. And being able to, without judgment, noticing I'm not centered and returning to the center. Not judging. Of course, you're going to lose your cool. Of course, you're not going to be your most serene self very many moments during the day, actually. You get knocked off, you can come back. So it's finding your center, returning to your center, and then ideally, it's being able to linger in your center for a few moments, for a few minutes, but not for hours. That's just not realistic. And so let me put up there your calm spirit, finding and returning to your center. And if I ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at most of the time? Write it down. If you feel comfortable, you can judge the public. The reason I think it's useful, and I dare some people who are struggling to feel comfortable putting your lower number in there, because there might be somebody who's feeling like I'm way down here at 2s and 3s, and everyone, all of my colleagues are up at 8, 9, 10. Oh, there we go. Somebody just shared 1. So thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry you're at, and somebody just wrote, I'm at 5 for all so far. And one of the things I think that COVID has done for me that I will, when COVID's over, I'm going to be so glad it's over. I'm so glad that this is when this is going to be behind us. But there are things I want to take with me that I don't want to leave behind. I don't want to go all the way back to know what normal was for me. Because one of my stories that I told myself was that I can only give presentations in person. I can't give them virtually and be effective at it. And I have to be at an 8 or 9 or 10 in order to do really good work as a presenter. And I would take all these massive steps in the days and weeks leading up to a speaking engagement to make sure to increase the likelihood that I would be at an 8 or 9 or 10. And the reality is I had to get on and be hopeful and be helpful when I was feeling at a 4. And in some ways, it felt like a betrayal at first. But it turns out that so many of us know inside of us that we can show up and bring a really fair amount of competence and even excellence, even when we're not feeling amazing. And I come out of here knowing I wasn't a 9 or 10 most of the time when I presented this year. Like I just don't live in 9, 10. My normal range is 2 to 8. And I'm at a 5 or 6 plenty of times. It turns out that's okay. We can get there. The last piece was about nurturing your health. And if you remember, we talked about your physical health and also your emotional health. And the idea here was first assessing and saying, how am I physically? Does something need my attention? How am I doing mentally? Does something need my attention? Applying first aid, taking care of yourself. And then when you're ready to thrive, part of nurturing your health is to remember that healthiness is more than just being not sick. There are positive states of wellness that are worth exploring. If I ask you to take a deep breath right now and do here now for me, just take a breath. And if I ask you today, are you healthy? I'm hoping that if you can realize you just took a deep breath, that the answer is yes, you are healthy. You have health. Could you be healthier? Are you dealing with some physical ailments, some emotional challenges, some conditions that make your health less than what you wish it was or less than what you want it to be? Very, very likely so. But you are healthy. And I think changing that story from I'm unhealthy and I want to be healthy to I'm healthy now. Do I want health? Do I want more health? Absolutely. I've got some now. And it makes a difference. So on a scale of 1 to 10, my friends, where would you say you're at today? If you already jotted it down, great. I'd love it if some of you felt comfortable going ahead and sharing your number with the group so that we can see how our colleagues are doing. What's the temperature of the room? Thank you for sharing with yourself. If you're just keeping them on your sheets, that's totally fine. What I'm going to invite you to do, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry things are hard for some of you in some of these areas. I really appreciate you feel comfortable. I think it helps normalize saying, you know, we're not all going to be high in all the times, all the areas. And I think that's important. One of your 2 assignments. So when you get back in the small groups, I'm going to give you 2 topics. And one of them is talk about the strengths and talk about the challenge areas of these 4. So if I ask you to look at your sheet and say, which one of these do you feel really good about, 1 or 2? Take a note of that. Maybe put a little circle around 1 or 2 that you think these are my stronger ones. And maybe put an asterisk by one that either is a weak area, a struggle area, or even if it's kind of moderate, if you worked on it, if you worked on this area, you think it might help your overall well-being a little bit more. Is there 1 or maybe 2 of those? So that's going to be one topic. The other thing I want to do real quickly in about hopefully 5 minutes-ish is tell you a story. And it's going to give you 3 questions to explore. And it requires, well, it doesn't require me putting this, but yesterday I ended up trying to find a picture of Hanging Lake, and I just settled on giving you all the Wikipedia link because there are some cool pictures. But once upon a time, I loved Hanging Lake. It is this amazing little lake in western Colorado. And a little bit of a backstory. One of the last sections of the originally designed interstate system in the United States was Interstate 70, which I think you're familiar with, as it's going down the Rockies on the western slopes. And in order to put it where they planned it, it basically had to go right through an amazingly beautiful canyon that was this natural area. There was a lot of concern about how to do it in an environmentally responsible way and in a way that didn't cost too much money, but still, trucks, one of the major forms of commerce in our country is trucks getting stuff where they needed to go. And they decided to go ahead and build this interstate, and they took great care and spent extra time and money to have as little environmental impact as possible. The result is there's a 14-mile stretch of interstate on I-70 that feels very similar to driving through Zion National Park, or if you could imagine driving down into the Grand Canyon. It's really that stunning. It's unbelievable. Well, one of the things that existed for hundreds of years without very many people knowing is that on the side of the canyon wall, there was this tiny little spring that for millions of years slowly ate away a piece of rock until it fell off of the canyon wall and landed on a rock in such a way that it was sitting there high up on the wall. And then the spring filled it with water and created this little hanging lake. And when they built this interstate system, they built a whole bunch of rest areas so people could get out and enjoy the natural splendor. And one of the rest areas, there's a little trail that you can take a half-mile stroll on paved concrete. It's actually part of the bike. You can bike the whole thing too. And then there's a trailhead, a 1-mile, incredibly steep, straight up hike to get up to Hanging Lake. And it's very strenuous. I've done it 8 or 9 times. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen on the planet. I had never done it in the winter. And several years ago, I was in Colorado for a meeting and had a chance to spend an extra night outside of Denver and then fly out the next day. And I decided to drive all the way over to Glenwood Springs, which is just at the bottom of the canyon, and get up early the next morning. And on my way to the airport, stop and hike and see Hanging Lake, and with just a little bit of snow on it. And I get up there really early, just as the light was starting to come out. And I discovered that even though in Glenwood Springs there was a little bit of snow, up in the mountains to about 10 miles up, there was more snow. And it wasn't, and normally when I go for a hike, I have my really good hiking boots. I travel with what's called portable crampons. So I have these little metal things that you can slap on to the bottom of your boots that are basically add spikes. I usually hike even in the summer with either a hiking staff or hiking poles. I had none of that because I had flown out and had no plans to hike. So I go to hike and it was not easy and it was not comfortable. And I'm spend about 20 minutes, what would normally take me 3 or 4 minutes. And it was really a struggle. And I was on the verge of giving up when I realized that the biggest problem I was dealing with was not the snow. The biggest challenge that I was facing is that I had a story in my head of how I thought it was going to be, of how I wanted it to be, of how I was expecting the experience to be. And that was getting in the way of dealing with the actual situation. And so I let go. I said, I've got to set aside the way I wished it was, the way I thought it was going to be, and I got to face what is. And in seconds, I discovered some incredible things. First of all, I'd been here many times. I had never been there with this beautiful blanket of snow. I had been bummed that I wasn't hearing the little creek that runs right along the path the whole way. And there's this bubbling sound that is so magical that wasn't there. Instead, I was hearing this incredible silence that was pretty stunning when I stopped wishing I was listening to water. And then I could hear these birds, and the quietest little birds were in a canyon would echo. And it was just extraordinary. The next part of my hike was a completely different experience. It was still hard. It was still scary. I probably still shouldn't have done it. But I was enjoying what was there. And I was creating all these memories that I'm like, I will probably never come do this again. I need to hold on to this. So I'm like, keep taking I took a couple of physical shots. I was taking mostly mental shots that I could just enjoy. The other thing that was cool is all the leaves were gone. I could see the canyon walls like I'd never been able to see before. And that was stunning as well. I get all the way to the last part where I've just got a 1/10 of a mile to go. And it's sheer, it's the easiest to describe. If you could imagine a spiral staircase that's carved out of rock, only instead of step, 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 there were these like 3.5-foot big steps that you had to step. And my left foot is on the ground. I put my right foot on the first step and it just went and it just flew out the side. Now I was perfectly safe. My left foot was firmly on the ground, but where my left foot shot out reminded me there's handrails. There's no safety rails. There's no fencing to keep me from falling off. And it was sheer ice. It was melted black ice on these steps. And I realized there is no way I could safely ascend to see Hanging Lake. And here I'd gone all this way. And it was so awful. And I don't know if I cried, but I'm wanting to cry right now when I think about the fact that I was that close. And I did something I'd done at the bottom, and that was to let go. I let go of the idea of that I was going to see it. I decided to hold on to the memory, the experience that I had, and I realized that getting this close but not seeing it would make the next time I actually saw it that much sweeter. So I went to a look forward place. I'm going to look forward to the best time. I'm going to say, I'm sorry I can't visit you this time. It's just not safe. And I started back down. Now, I was a little sad, but it was worth it. It was the smart say. I have no doubt that would have been it would have been irresponsible. It might have cost me my life. I make my way back down. Took a long time because I didn't have to work as hard against gravity. Gravity was my friend all the way down, except gravity's not your friend when it's basically a giant hill. And I made my way back and I turned to say goodbye. And I saw a sign that I had not noticed when I was on my way up the first time. And the sign said, as of April 15th of this year, April 15th of next year, this was in December, you will no longer be able to visit Hanging Lake by yourself. Their plan was to close the rest area, and you would have to go down to Glenwood Springs, get a ticket in advance. It wouldn't cost anything, but you'd have to get a ticket in advance, and they would take shuttle buses up because there had been so much environmental damage to the area, and many people get hurt making the climb on their own. And I was so sad to think I may have just missed the last chance to be up there solo. But because I had been practicing this combination of letting go and holding on and looking forward, I knew I had to quickly let go of this idea that I get to come back solo. I would hold on to these memories that I had of previous hikes and of this gorgeous hike, because even though I didn't get all the way up, it was still remarkable. And I could look forward to the next time I would come here. Maybe God was saying, you need to come and help somebody who really wants to see it, who's afraid to hike it, and you can hold their hand and it'll be a magical, different experience. I'm like, yeah, I'm in for that. And I had my opportunity last September. I was getting only virtual speaking gigs, and I realized that I could do these virtual gigs from anywhere, and I'd never seen my beloved Rockies in the fall. So I packed up and I drove to Colorado in September and did several inspirational speeches from my favorite little town in the middle of nowhere, Colorado. And on my way back, I was going to stop at Glenwood Springs and pay my ticket and reserve my spot. And on the way out, I drove through the canyon and I saw smoke. And I found out when I got to Glenwood Springs that there had been a fire that had closed Glenwood Springs for, I think, over a week. The interstate was actually closed last fall. And Hanging Lake had not been damaged, but the trail had been damaged. And they did not expect that it would open for at least a few years. And I did cry. I was very sad and wondered if I would ever get to see it again. And after a short while, I realized I had to let go of my idea about Hanging Lake. I had to hold on to all the good memories, and that maybe the looking forward was about finding the new thing, because the Colorado Rockies are pretty big. And my thought is there's somewhere else in the Rockies that I've never even heard of that is magical and wondrous and amazing. Nothing like Hanging Lake, maybe something even more wondrous. Those three questions. What is it time to let go of? What will be important to hold on to? What might be useful to look forward to? I have just put the last link in here. And what I would like to do is send you back into your small groups. And the blue box that should pop up if you clicked on that link, it says 3 questions amid challenge and change. What is it time to let go of? What will be important to hold on to? What might be useful to look forward to? My suggestion when you get back in your groups, it's 10:50. I'm going to bring us back at 10:59 so that I can do 1 minute and end on time. Actually, I'm going to put 8 minutes on it. My suggestion is that somebody can get in there and give you about 4 minutes of time to talk about the first part of the question, which is, how are you doing with the 4 areas? Open, curious mind, open heart, calm spirits, nurturing your health. And if that conversation is going well, keep on going. Don't worry about this one. But if it's starting to wind down, flip over and somebody say, hey, let's talk about the 3 questions. And then the question is, for the time of COVIDia, for this school year, for some other challenge that you're dealing with, ask yourself these questions. What is it time to let go of? What will be important to hold on to? What might be useful to look forward to? I'm going to bip into the rooms. I'm going to stay on mute. I'm not going to participate. I just want to get a flavor of the conversations. We'll meet back here with 1 minute to close out and be done. Are you ready? Let me open up the rooms. Doop, doop, doop. Oh, some people might not be in rooms. Oh, if you're not in a room, I'll assign you to a room real quick. Let's find another room. There we go. Oh, there's some more people still there. Okay. Julie, we'll get you in a room here real quick. I don't know why Susan and Julie aren't going to rooms. Oh, there. Julie, I put you into a room. I think you'll go there in a second. Hopefully. You might need to click a button maybe. I'm not sure, Julie. I'm so sorry. I will, it's got you put into room 6, but it says you didn't go. So I don't know if maybe you're not there. Dun, dun, dun. I don't know if you're there, Julie. You might have stepped away from your computer. If you didn't, I'm going to try putting you into this room again and see how it goes. Boom, boom. Oh, there. It worked. Yay! Oh, Susan, I'm sorry. You're back in this space. We didn't get you tossed into a room. It looks like you were going to be in room 5,
I
but
got
it
room
didn't.
8 letter.
Hey, Paul,
Yes.
don't worry about it. I left that room because I got distracted and I didn't want to take away from,
Oh, got it.
yeah. So I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, good. Phew. I was like, oh, poor Susan. She's here with me. We're going
Yeah,
to
no
get
problem.
everyone back in here and end on time in just a second. So we'll have company soon.
Awesome.
Do-do-do-do. Here they come. Let me see if I can find Today I Choose really quickly to end. Hello, everyone. I want to end on time. So we're going to paste, copy and paste. We've got a couple more rooms that still are not back. So they have a few seconds. I don't know if I told you all in January. I don't think they were back yet. So I have a little elementary school across on the other side of my backyard. And so I get to hear little recess and it's just such a magical little sound. Except the years when there's a couple screamers and they get out on the lawn and it's like, oh my gosh. And I'm sure the teachers are like, let them scream out here and get it out of their system. I keep thinking, is somebody murdering a child? And it turns out, no. Foursquare is a very loud sport some days. All right, the bell is chiming, which means it's almost top of the hour. And I need to read something to you and wrap up. Today, I choose. And this was something I wrote a draft of 15, 18 years ago. And it's a personal mantra. I very rarely share it with others. Today is a remarkable event, a once in a lifetime opportunity filled with countless choices. Today, I choose to live. Today, I choose to embrace any joy I encounter to magnify its potential and endure any struggles to seek their lessons. Today, I choose to worry less about the things beyond my control and instead focus on the ways I can make a difference. Today, I choose to improve the world by improving myself. Great Spirit that dwells within me and connects us all, invite me to choose happiness by extending happiness to others. Encourage me to choose peace by recognizing peace within and around me. And challenge me to choose love by radiating love outward towards friends and foes and those I have yet to encounter. As I step into this magnificent day, I choose to honor my past, anticipate my future, and most importantly, enjoy today. I'm going to end my time with you by pasting that into the symbol. I want you to know it is a very rare and wondrous treat to hang out with a group 3 times in such a short amount of time. I would not have gotten the opportunity to fire up the elementary staff if it hadn't been for you all taking your stickers and your books and the enthusiasm and subscribing to Ripples and sharing it with others and they said, well, we got to bring this guy to us. Thank you for the time that you've allowed me to spend with you. And please know I will make this video available if you want to watch it again. And there is reason for us to feel hope. We are not out of the woods yet. COVIDia is not over, and there are many ways in which it will never be over. It will be so much better in a few months than it is now, and it will continue to get better. As we get there, we need each other. What is it time to let go of? What will be important to hold on to? And what could be useful to look forward to? With that, I will say goodbye. I've gotten a couple private messages here, and I will read those afterwards. I will stick around a couple minutes if you have things you need to say to me or want to say. You can unmute, we can chat. But for the most part, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say goodbye, and I'm going to let you all leave the room. So goodbye. Or Janet, is there anything they need to hear from you? I'm assuming that we can just let them go.
No, we're getting ready to take a break here. For those of you that are SysFin users, our next session will begin at 11:15. Paul, again, thank you so much for the wonderful words that you had to share with us today. We always appreciate you very much.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. I'll let you all head out as you need. I'm just going to wave goodbye to you. And you're welcome to unmute if you want to say something, but otherwise, I'm just going to say goodbye. And it was such a treat. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. I'm loving all these messages. Thank you. Thanks a lot, you all. So good to see you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So good. Thank you. Thanks a lot, you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Some of them are still here. I thought you were all gone. No, they're still there. We're down to 12, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And maybe some people ran to the restroom, and so they're going to stick around the room. I'm going to shut the room soon, but bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.